Before the clash of empires and the philosophies of men, before the Parthenon stood in timeless grace, there was Athena, goddess of wisdom, war, and the weaving of fate. But how well do we truly know her? Today, we unravel the ancient threads of myth, history, and mystery that surround Athena, daughter of Zeus, and perhaps something more. In most myths, gods are born of divine unions, but Athena defied convention from the very beginning. Her mother was Metis, the goddess of wisdom and deep thought, but it was foretold that any child Metis bore would one day surpass the power of Zeus himself. And Zeus was afraid. So, in a desperate act of control cloaked in strategy, Zeus swallowed Metis whole while she was still pregnant, hoping to absorb her wisdom and avert the prophecy. But prophecy is not so easily thwarted. Days turned into months, and then, amidst thunder and agony, Zeus suffered a searing headache. He summoned Hephaestus, god of the forge, who split Zeus's head open with an axe, and from his skull leapt Athena, fully grown, clad in gleaming armor, shield in one hand, spear in the other, and eyes that burned with the light of reason and the fire of war. She was not born of woman. She was born of thought itself. Most people think of Athena as a warrior, the Greek counterpart to Rome's Minerva. But Athena was far more than just a goddess of war. Unlike Ares, the god of bloodlust and chaos, Athena embodied strategic warfare, the calm before the battle, the mind that won the war before the sword was ever drawn. Yet few know that she was also the patron of crafts, architecture, mathematics, and even olive cultivation. In fact, the olive tree, now a symbol of peace and prosperity, was Athena's gift to humanity. More on that later. She was revered not just as a destroyer, but as a builder, a goddess of cities, a protector of civilization itself. Athens, a city that still bears her name. But did you know that it almost didn't? In ancient times, the newly founded city needed a patron deity. Both Poseidon and Athena laid claim to it. A divine contest was arranged. Each would offer a gift to the people of the city. Poseidon struck the ground with his trident, and from it sprung a saltwater spring, or in some versions, a war horse. Powerful, but impractical. Athena stepped forward and planted a seed in the parched earth. From that seed grew the first olive tree, symbol of nourishment, oil, light, and wealth. The people and their king, sea crops, chose Athena. But here's a lesser-known twist. The temple we now call the Erechtheion, built beside the Parthenon, contains a sacred mark, believed to be the spot where Poseidon's trident struck the earth in fury when he lost. Even in defeat, the gods leave their scars. The Parthenon, her greatest temple, comes from the word Parthenos, meaning virgin. But Athena's virginity is symbolic, not merely physical. In Greek thought, Parthenos also implied independence. Athena needed no consort. She was complete unto herself, an autonomous force who answered to no male counterpart. This made her revered and sometimes feared. In a patriarchal society, a powerful woman who belonged to no man could be as unsettling as she was divine. And here lies a contradiction. While she was a goddess of wisdom and reason, she was also aligned with the patriarchy. She once refused to help women in childbirth, stating, "I have no mother." She sided with men in the trial of Orestes, arguing that the father is the true parent and the mother merely the nurse of the seed. Perhaps no story better illustrates Athena's complexity than that of Medusa. Commonly told, Medusa was a monstrous gorgon slain by Perseus, her severed head gifted to Athena, who placed it on her shield, the aegis. But there's a darker, lesser-known version. Medusa was once a beautiful priestess in Athena's temple. She took a vow of chastity, but Poseidon, desiring her, violated her within those sacred walls. Rather than punishing Poseidon, Athena, perhaps bound by divine law or angered by the desecration of her temple, punished Medusa, transforming her into a monster with serpents for hair and a gaze that turned men to stone. Why? Some say Athena was cruel. Others say she transformed Medusa to give her power to never be victimized again. Was it punishment or protection? These contradictions make Athena not just a goddess, but a mirror of the society that worshipped her. We know Athena's major symbols: the owl, symbol of wisdom, the olive tree, the aegis, her fearsome shield. But did you know she was also called Athena Primakos, she who fights from the front; Athena Ergain, patroness of artisans and laborers; Athena Polius, protector of the city; Athena Nike, victory incarnate. In some rural cults, she was worshipped as Athena Aleia, a goddess of refuge and healing. And in older pre-Hellenic myths, she may have been an earth goddess, possibly connected to Neolithic snake deities. That's why snakes appear not just on her shield, but also around her sacred statues. Athena's evolution reflects the shift from earth-based mother cults to sky-based patriarchal gods. Unlike distant deities, Athena was present. She guided Odysseus with cunning and reason through his long journey home. She taught Pandora to weave, even while the gods gave her a box of chaos. She stood beside Achilles and Hercules. She helped invent the chariot, the bridle, the loom, and the plough. And she was one of only 3 virgin goddesses allowed to carry Zeus's thunderbolts. When you look closely, Athena wasn't just a deity. She was civilization itself. Athena's birth shattered skull and sky. Her mind built cities, yet her choices destroyed some too. She is a goddess of paradox, logic and war, justice and punishment, womanhood and aloofness. And we've only just begun. In the next segment, we'll explore Athena's influence across time, from Homer to Plato, from Rome to Renaissance, and into the secrets of her hidden temples across the ancient world. Subscribe so you don't miss the untold legacy of the goddess who shaped the mind of Western civilization. Athena may have been born of myth, but her presence bled into every part of ancient life, from the whispered prayers of philosophers to the sacred rituals of forgotten temples. In this second chapter, we explore the legacy of Athena beyond the battlefield, into the hearts of cities, the minds of thinkers, and the ruins time almost erased. When we think of Athena's worship, we picture the Parthenon, grand, symmetrical, and crowned in white marble. But this was not the only place where Athena reigned. Scattered across the ancient world were lesser-known temples dedicated to her epithets. In Tegea, the temple of Athena Aleia rivaled even the Parthenon in splendor. Designed by Scopas, it stood as a place of refuge for exiles, suggesting Athena's role as a guardian of the outcast, a side rarely emphasized in mainstream myth. In Lindos, on the island of Rhodes, the temple of Athena Lindia blended older, possibly Minoan traditions with classical Hellenism. Pilgrims came here not for war prayers, but for wisdom, healing, and judgment. And in Tritonis, a mysterious Libyan cult worshipped a warrior goddess with helmet and spear, possibly an early African iteration of Athena. In fact, Herodotus suggested that the Greeks may have borrowed Athena from Libya, where she was honored with ritual dances by warrior women. These temples remind us Athena was never just one thing. Her worship adapted, absorbed, and reflected the needs of the people. In the golden age of Athens, philosophers reimagined the gods not as beings of thunder and flesh, but as ideals. For Plato, Athena was not merely the goddess of wisdom, she was wisdom itself. In the Timaeus, he connects Athena to the soul of the cosmos, a force that harmonizes reason with action. Aristotle, born in a city sacred to Athena, Stagira, referenced her ideals in his theories of virtue, combining courage and logic, much like Athena herself. And yet, in these retellings, we see something subtle, a shift from the divine feminine to abstract principle. As the rational mind was elevated, the goddess became an allegory, but she never disappeared. In the Roman world, Athena was reborn as Minerva, patron of the Capitoline Triad. Emperors, generals, and poets continued to invoke her name, now clad in Latin, but still wielding wisdom and war. We've spoken of owls, olive trees, and shields, but Athena's symbolism is far deeper, hidden in everyday objects of the ancient world. The loom, for instance, wasn't just a domestic tool. It was a symbol of order, of fate woven by logic and skill. When women weaved, they were imitating Athena's structuring of the cosmos. The gorgonion, Medusa's head, was worn on armor and temple doors to ward off evil. It's easy to forget that this was Athena's most potent protective emblem, not as a weapon of fear, but of deterrence. She turned horror into defense. The snake, so often feared, was also sacred to Athena. Snakes represent rebirth, healing, and the chthonic forces of the earth. In fact, the giant serpent Erichthonius, who was part man, part snake, was said to be born from Hephaestus's attempt to violate Athena. Yet she raised him as her own, enshrining him beneath the Acropolis. Even the helmet, always perched upon her brow, represents more than battle. It shows she is always thinking, never at rest, never unprepared. Athena's wisdom was a gift and a weapon. One story often retold, but rarely questioned, is the myth of Arachne. A young Lydian woman, Arachne was a master weaver. Her tapestries were so perfect that she claimed she had nothing to learn, not even from Athena. The goddess, disguised as an old woman, warned her. But Arachne did not back down, so Athena challenged her to a contest. Arachne wove scenes of the gods' cruelty, Zeus's seductions, Poseidon's vengeance, Apollo's rage. Athena wove scenes of justice, triumph, and balance. But Arachne's work was flawless and true. Enraged by the content, not the quality, Athena struck the loom and turned Arachne into a spider. A harsh punishment or a divine act of mercy, allowing her to weave forever? This tale shows Athena's duality. She values truth, but demands reverence. She is a goddess of reason, but no one is above her authority. Though she is often cited as an exception to the Greek pantheon's deeply patriarchal leanings, Athena's roots may trace back to older matriarchal traditions. In pre-Mycenaean times, early fertility goddesses held snakes, wore crested helmets, and guarded cities. Some archaeologists argue that Athena absorbed aspects of these older figures, blending virgin warrior and earth mother into one. Consider her connection to Gaia, Rhea, and Demeter, goddesses of the land. Though Athena denied motherhood, she still protected children, defended cities, and nurtured olive trees, crops, and crafts. She was not the absence of femininity. She was a redefinition of it. Athena was everywhere in daily Athenian life. Court trials began with prayers to her for reason and fairness. Athletes competing in the Panathenaic Games received amphorae of sacred olive oil, her sacred gift. Girls participated in the Araphoria, a secret ritual where chosen maidens carried sacred items through tunnels beneath the Acropolis, an echo of older mystery rites. These civic rituals show how Athena's power wasn't abstract. It touched law, sport, agriculture, architecture, and family. And in one of her rare festivals, Athena Sciras, she was invoked not as a warrior or wise guardian, but as a protector from plague, storms, and darkness. The feminine returned in times of crisis. Athena's influence stretched beyond Athens. She was worshipped in Egypt as Neith, a goddess of war and weaving; Etruria, where she merged with local deities and gained attributes linked to fate; North Africa, where she was associated with moon cycles and female warriors. Even in India, some scholars have drawn tenuous parallels between Athena and Durga, both armored, wise, and independent. Was this archetype universal, or did the Greeks export her through conquest? Either way, Athena became a symbol, not just of a city or a myth, but of something deeper, the divine mind in human form. Athena was not merely born from Zeus. She was born from the collective imagination of an entire civilization, a mind-made goddess, a divine contradiction. We've seen Athena as goddess, warrior, weaver, judge, and protector. But gods don't die, they evolve. As reason rose and empires fell, the goddess of wisdom took on new forms, whispering through the minds of revolutionaries, artists, and algorithms. By the time the Roman Empire fell, many of the old gods were demonized, forgotten, or reinterpreted through a Christian lens. Yet, Athena endured. In the 18th century, as reason became the cornerstone of Western thought, Athena surged in relevance once more. Writers like Voltaire, Diderot, and Mary Wollstonecraft invoked her name and imagery in discussions of rationality, education, and equality. The owl of Athena even became a motif in Freemasonry, symbolizing the light of reason amidst darkness. And in the newly formed United States, Athena's influence quietly shaped the ideals of liberty and justice. The seal of California includes her image, helmeted, armored, and calm. The ancient goddess had now become a symbol of the rational state, one governed by law, not brute force. The 20th century brought something the ancients could not have foreseen: the feminist movement, and a renewed hunger to reclaim powerful feminine symbols. But Athena presented a paradox. On one hand, she was a virgin goddess who rejected motherhood, upheld patriarchal justice, and sided with male order. On the other, she embodied self-sufficiency, intelligence, and a refusal to be objectified, traits heralded by feminists across generations. Scholars like Adrienne Rich and Camille Paglia debated her legacy. Was she a traitor to her gender, or the prototype of the independent woman? In many feminist circles, Athena was reimagined, not as a woman denying femininity, but as one who redefined it through strength, intellect, and strategic mastery. A woman of her own making and mind. Across the world, statues of Athena still stand. In Nashville, a full-scale replica of the Parthenon includes a 42-foot statue of Athena, one of the tallest indoor sculptures in the Western Hemisphere. In Vienna, she stands in front of Parliament, symbolizing justice and law. And on university crests, military badges, and library seals, her symbols persist: the owl, the helmet, the spear and shield. She's not just a character from a forgotten past. She is an enduring emblem of what we aspire to be: wise, brave, just, and visionary. Increasingly driven by complexity, from war and politics to to science and identity, Athena's myth is more than a relic. She reminds us that wisdom without compassion can become cold, that power without thought becomes tyranny, that femininity is not weakness, and masculinity is not the only path to strength. She is the spark between mind and heart, between strategy and empathy, between the old world and the one we are still building. So the next time you see an owl or walk past a statue of a silent, armored woman gazing down, remember Athena. She is still here, not just in stone or scroll, but in questions we ask, the knowledge we chase, and the justice we dare to imagine. Thank you for joining this journey into the myth, mystery, and modern legacy of Athena, daughter of Zeus. Goddess not just of war or wisdom, but of what it means to think, act, and rise. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more ancient truths, retold for a modern world.